Packers fans out here to stay. Cheeseheads green and gold all day. Jordan Love lead us to the bay. Every game we find a way. Green Bay hustle, grind it up. Hit the field, we don't bluff. Touchdown dances, feel the love. Jordan's got that MVP stuff. It's time for OPE, let's go. Packers bringing that show. It's time for OPE, you know. Green and gold gonna glow. Lambeau Field, our sacred ground. Feel the vibe, hear the sound. Packers fans so loud and proud. Jordan Love, he's wearing the crown. Lambeau Field, our sacred ground. Feel the vibe, hear the sound. Packers fans so loud and proud. Jordan Love, he's wearing the crown.
Aloha and welcome back to a new episode of the Ohana Packers Edition Podcast. Training camp is officially underway for the Green Bay Packers, and we're checking in after the first, by the time you're listening to this, well, we're covering the first 4 practices. They'll have practice a 5th time probably, or they'll be about to practice for the 5th time first in pads by the time you're listening to this. But overall, it's been a solid start to training camp for the Packers. The biggest news is that the return from injury progressions have been going well overall. It seems like guys are hitting their timelines as expected. There was that blip of hope that Micah Parsons would be an absolute alien, but Schneidman and Domofsky had to ruin it for everyone and say, it's a procedural, he'll be on PUP tomorrow. This was back on Tuesday, and he was on PUP on Wednesday, or that was on Monday that he was not listed on PUP, and they said he'll be on PUP tomorrow. Come Tuesday, he was on PUP, so unfortunate, but expected. I mean, we all kind of hoped that he would uber alien it and somehow be able to play sooner than later, but as we've said, you've got to protect the investment. Team has to think long-term, both in terms of long-term of the 2026 season and moving through the rest of this partnership between the Packers and Parsons. But, Joe, overall, not too much to really complain about from a Packers fan point of view.
Well, you had the, what do you want to call it, with Keisean Nixon. People thought it was a sit-in. He claims it was just a one-day hamstring injury. I think he realized that...
Oh, they will start the rookie.
They didn't miss him while he was gone, so he got better real quick. There were some, Mike and I were talking, there were some light moves that they did make. Right now they're working with a new long snapper. Hopefully that'll be a permanent thing, not a temporary fix. But then I got to looking, and Domofsky and
Herman both said that one of Smack's misses is because of a bad snap.
Yeah, and Wes Hod said the same thing. So that's not too exciting, but yeah, I mean, this is a time of year I love. I'll be heading up there in about 10 days from the time that we're recording this, so it's my time of year to take my vacation, head up and hang out up there. So yeah, and it makes you excited for football, but then you can't get too excited because it's like, well, they're not really doing anything. Because, I mean, there's been a lot of things. Like, Matthew Golden has been looking good. Lukas Van Ness has been looking tremendous. I was just reading stuff from Domofsky on Colin Oliver, and they said that he's been pretty... Wes Hod even said something to the effect that this is the first time he's ever seen a pass rusher stop and put his hands on his hips waiting for the pass to be thrown. And it's like, okay, so that kind of gives you hope, but then again, it doesn't give you hope, because okay, well, what offensive line are they going against? Because if it's the number one starter,
yep.
Well, no pads, but if it's the number one starters, and it's like, well, does that mean we're gonna have a shitty ass offensive line? Or if it's like the 3rd, 4th, 5th string offensive line, is it just because they're going against that sub offensive line that they're doing so well in? So yeah, I mean, it's a time to be excited because football's back, but you also have to reserve your excitement because, it is just practices.
So I realized we didn't talk about how we wanted to handle this episode. So the thought that popped into my head is we'll just do a overview of the first few days. Hit some of the like you said. There's been a couple around the periphery roster moves. Some of the names who ended up on PUP. A couple not surprises, but kind of disappointments that they ended up on there. And then we can go into like things we're most encouraged. Like you said, our super early training camp. Few things we're very excited about, and few things that are making our eyebrow twitch a little bit. So,
I am kind of disappointed that Mike didn't notice. There's no ponytail anymore.
I said it before, but you were fiddling with your microphone. But that is my fault. It's a great new hairdo for Iowa Joe. I was going to ask: is there a job interview or something that's happening? Are we looking at head of security vertical movement?
No. It was more that I got tired of taking care of the damn thing, and I was hoping to find somewhere that I could donate it. But being I'm in the backwoods of nowhere, it's almost impossible to find people that work with like charities and that to donate it. But yeah, I went yesterday and got it chopped. I wish he would have done a little bit more with the bangs, but yeah, my head feels much lighter. I feel like I'm gonna float away. But yeah, I mean, as back to all that other stuff, it's just like I said, it's exciting that football's back. There are some things that aren't looking so good. There are some things that are looking some good. But yeah, I mean, we can go over the pup list if you want. I gotta pull it up here.
Like you said, I guess we'll go over the pup list because those kind of influenced the couple of roster moves that they made. So, hold that thought. So, excuse me, just to buy time as we live internet this thing. Tucker Craft was on PUP but was activated on Friday and did do individual drills. On the NFI list is Chris Brooks. Okay, I know we sort of went into it a little bit where it's like the whole what distinguishes NFI versus PUP, it's not an every time thing, but often PUP means you are dealing with the after effects of an injury you suffered the season before. So, Micah Parsons, Devontae Wyatt, Wyatt is not on PUP, but he has been limited. But Micah Parsons, Jordan Riley, Kamal Haddon, those guys are on PUP because, they had suffered an injury.
Hadn't returned today.
Yeah. So, good. See, I hadn't gotten that update yet that Haddon had returned.
He was practicing today.
Yeah, I know that LaFleur was kind of teasing him because I think it was Marlon Jones's pick six that Haddon ran down the sideline next to Jones to celebrate, and LaFleur's like, "So you're still on pup because?" And he's like, "I'm just kidding. I know there's a process, but one of the names, like we said, okay, a couple of names that are on there that were unexpected are Luke Musgrave, who is dealing with a mysterious neck injury that LaFleur has said." Former host Nick Gray. No, I'm kidding. But a neck injury that LaFleur has stated is not super short term, but they don't also expect it to be long term in terms of season ending kind of thing. So, that could mean he stays on pup through the beginning of the season. LaFleur left it very much up in the air. He did say that they're optimistic it's something that will progress, but did not give much of an update on what that progression is going to look like. Javon Hargrave is also on PUP. It's unclear whether this is you cannot just go on PUP because old, but how much of this is, he was dealing with a nagging injury last season, and, he's 30, he's our age. Javon Hargrave is... he's 33.
He's my age. He'd be retired.
Yeah, maybe mine too, actually. So Javon is 33. I didn't even realize he is literally 2 years younger than Marisol. But
You're not supposed to tell your wife's age.
I didn't say it out loud. What's it called?
I was trying to read that they said something about that they don't think it's anything.
Yeah, I'm
concerning.
looking at it as it's a coded. He is an old. It's sort of the like Brian Bulaga. He's only going to practice when he needs to kind of thing. And with Hargrove, it is okay. He's been around the block a couple times. Don't need to burn him out all the way through training camp. Has played for Gannon, but Hargrove did make the comment that Gannon is running very different stuff from the time that they were together in Philadelphia, so it remains to be seen how much of an adjustment it will be for Hargrave, but he is still projected to start at one of the defensive tackle spots once the season comes around. So those two were, not, I don't want to say bad surprises, but like just names you didn't expect to see on the list. And then the other one who really was sort of the catalyst for some of the periphery roster moves, long snapper Matt Orzik is on PUP to start training camp. And the Packers did not have a second long snapper, so they had to go and get a second long snapper. And that is...
Yeah, we were trying to figure out how to pronounce it. It's like Cal Adomitis or Adomitis.
Adomitis because he's a person and not an inflammation of your Adam organ. But so you gotta have one in camp to run through your special teams operations. Unfortunately,
I was reading that Trey Smack was snapping to Dan Whelan the other day just so he could have somebody snapping to him.
I guess he hadn't passed the physical yet. But yeah, also not great is that one of Smack's 2 misses in practice on Sunday was due to the fact that Adomitis had a bad snap on the play. So, unfortunately, Dan Whelan having to get good again, not get good, but having to reach into the bag and be the wunderkind at a holder much earlier than you want him to have to be in training camp at all, or if at all. But not a great start for long snapper. And obviously, yes, the operation matters, but you do want to see your kicker overcome those. But all the reporters did note that Smack was kicking into pretty oddly adverse wind conditions on Sunday, and it is something he's going to have to adjust to, but he was just missing because the wind pushed the ball. And honestly, I know some people will have concern with that, but there's a part of me that's like, yes, adjust, but also there's the other part of me that's like, I'm glad he's not missing it wild in every direction, because that means that would mean he's potentially like overcompensating and losing technique the other way kind of thing. And it's sort of that, okay, like, yes, just kick it a little bit more against the wind, but just don't go completely against, how you normally would kick a football kind of thing. So that's just
it was only 2 misses.
And they weren't from extreme distance. I think he missed from 39 and 45, but you don't want to miss shorter than 40, really shorter than 45 in the new era of kicking. But adverse conditions, first day of like live kicking, because I know he's kicked some in camp, but it's been like off the like little holder tee and stuff like that. He hasn't like done the operation and stuff. So, not great for the first day, but also like it's not like he was kicking inside of Hudson and missing or anything like that. So,
right.
It was always going to be a process. We lived through what's it called? Carlson.
Yeah.
We lived through whatever you want to call the 2006 season with the like 4 different kickers that we rostered at some point during that last season before Crosby, the 2 bad Crosby seasons and stuff. So he's a rookie. Yes, they've gambled. They've put all their eggs in the basket of Trey Smack, but that's also like, it was always going to be some kind of process, and you don't want to see a guy missing at all, but get him out now. Don't get like false Dutch courage that like, oh, he's perfect in training camp, and then have him have his moment in a game with not necessarily game on the line kind of thing, because those are less than perfect circumstances, but then like, oh, he just shanks a kick in the first quarter of a game and then he's like toast the rest of the way kind of thing. So, not that,
And this
like I
was
said,
kind of the thing that we feared a little bit with him is the extreme elements. And not saying that right now up there is extreme because it's just hot and windy, but if he's having a hard time with the wind, what's it going to be like in the middle of December when
the ball
you've
is a
got-
rock.
Yeah, so it's good. It's one of those things that would be good for him to get it out now and not in the middle of a playoff push.
Yep. So we've gone there. A couple other moves that they made. So to make room for Adomitis, they cut the backup kicker Craig. I'm assuming it's pronounced like Dave Craig's last name because it's spelled the same way.
I don't know. It's German. It could be Krieg for all we know.
I know. It depends on how German are you. But so they cut the kicker who replaced Havrasik. So Smack is literally the only kicker on the roster right now. And then they swapped wide receivers. Brendan Rice was released with a waived injured designation, and in the meantime, the team brought in Caden Prather, another wide receiver, more than likely a camp body at this point. You come in this late, nondescript, former late round draft pick kind of thing and stuff. So we'll see.
I don't know. They were talking pretty highly of him today, so it could, but he's also got a little bit of a pedigree because he was at Louisville. He was up in the CFL. He was on the championship team in the CFL.
Yep.
So, not to like say that he's not anything more than a camp body, but
Right.
there is a little bit of a pedigree there for him.
Yep. And then I guess the other like disappointing, or actually no, that'll go into the next segment and stuff. But anything else in terms of PUP or roster?
Yeah, Kraft
moves?
was on it for like a total of 8 hours.
Yeah, and came back with a very I seen like a dozen different people, including Robin. Robin tweet like, I can't not read his comments about his knee in a non-Donald Trump voice because
He had a really weird thing.
it's the doctor said my knee is spectacular. And to which I forget if it was Snideman or I forget which one. It's like, or Brian Wood. One of them was like, never heard a knee be described as spectacular, but there goes Tucker Kraft doing it. So, but
Well, and then he just had another one where he said he's like a tricycle with no brakes.
oh yeah, no,
like,
he said he
where-
is a tricycle because tricycles don't have brakes. That's what it was.
It's
Yeah.
like, where do you get these things?
Just, are you that podunk? Like, are you that podunk country boy that's really how you guys talk kind of thing? Like, but hey, like, it's just really good to see him back. Obviously, even as much as Tucker is like tooting his own horn about how well his recovery is going, he also has admitted like there is a procedure they're going through. He's not gonna do team drills yet.
No, but he's been doing everything else. I've been watching little clips of him cutting and jumping. And
Yeah, they said he did. It was weird because they said he didn't catch passes, but he like ran a couple soft routes on. I forget how they described it, and then he did some of the.
Today he was catching passes.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm thinking of Friday's practice. See, this is what happens.
This is what happens when you give your co-host 4 months off and he does nothing.
And was taking his dog into the Pacific this morning instead of watching the practice highlights. But but that's, like I said, that's a progression from Friday, because on Friday, he did a couple like kind of one-on-one blocking drills with the coach holding the bag kind of thing, and he ran some routes on air but wasn't throwing the ball and stuff, and that was it. Like he did a lap around the field to get the fans hyped and stuff like that, but that was I think he might have done the walkthrough, but they couldn't see the walkthrough, so no one was super certain. So that was Kraft's quote-unquote participation on Friday. But if he's already progressed to running some routes and catching some passes, that is indeed a true progression from where he was 2 days ago. He said he was probably not gonna play in the preseason games unless
I wouldn't play him.
Like even if things did progress to the point where he could, there's no point in it. Like he is on the short list of if Jordan's not playing, there's absolutely no reason for Kraft to even have a uniform on. Like he's on that kind of list.
The only way I would play him is if for some reason he thinks he needs to get out there for the mental.
And he did say that he's like he won't be fully back until he gets smoked trying to block someone kind of thing and stuff. But he also followed that up saying, and that's probably going to be week 1 kind of thing. So like he's totally balancing it all out. The good news side of it is Zach Tom was not on the PUP list.
Zach who?
Oh, Bako Bawele. Yes, he changed his last name. We're just hoping that Zach is the third guy who has changed either how he pronounces or addressed how he pronounces or changed his last name in Green Bay. Obviously, I think he's the first one to like full on change it in a while, but Rob Tunyon.
That was just because everybody assumed what it was pronounced like. He finally.
Well, and then the same with Kingsley Enagbare, and then Tunyon blew his knee out the year after he corrected everyone on the pronunciation of his name. Enagbare left Green Bay the year after he corrected how his name should be pronounced. So we're just hoping that Zach going all the way to just changing his name, or just changing it to his grandparents' last name to pay homage to his Nigerian descent. We hope that going full-fledged into the change that Zach will continue to have prolonged success here in Green Bay. So, but
the only thing I got to say about it is I feel sorry for anybody who actually purchased Zach Tom jerseys.
Now it's a collector's item. So,
but
especially if you have his autograph as Zach Tom, so that's a collector's item
somewhere. But yes, I mean, it's great for him if that's what he wants to do.
Yep.
More power to him. I mean, it's not like he's doing it for vanity's sake, like a Chad Ochocinco or what's the basketball one, Ron Artest. Meta World Peace or something.
And I think he added to it or something too. So, yeah.
And it's not like Kanye's kids where they just named them like North and East or whatever the hell they did. So it's actually a meaningful thing for him. So yeah, I mean, more power to him. I'm not gonna. I hopefully, and I didn't catch to see if they did or not, that he gives like a pronunciation class on how to say it fully. But that's good on him.
Yep. So
just don't let Mike do
it. And on top of it, like I said, the bigger news for Zach is he is not on the PUP list. He and Wyatt are both not on it, and the announcement or the information that LaFleur has disclosed thus far is that they're hoping to get both of them back in full team activities after family night. So that would be a good progression, get them live reps, and they probably wouldn't have played in the preseason anyway, but that way they've got contact going through, unlike Kraft, week 1 won't be the first time either of these guys hits another person full on kind of thing and stuff. So good progression there. Aaron Banks started on PUP, but he has subsequently returned to practice. I know he's been more in the individual drill side of it as well, but he did walk through as part of the starters. Anyone else, Joe, or
injury-wise? Not that I can think.
In terms of new injuries,
dropped out. Yeah.
In terms of new. Okay, and Joe's going to have to cover the ones from Sunday, but the ones from earlier in the week, Jager Burton dropped out in the first practice, less than an hour in. He is a stamped official Packer now because he has mistimed with the hamstring issue.
I think he was back today.
There you go. So, either way, good. as of Friday, LaFleur had said that they were not concerned long term. It was just a more precautionary than anything else. And Edge Cooper on Thursday, I believe it was, dropped out early, but he returned on Friday to practice. So, couple bullets potentially dodged there for the Packers.
I was trying to look here. I'm pretty sure either Burton came back or he was doing certain drills today.
Right. Oh, there it is. Yeah, he was back on the practice field. Yep. Had his helmet, all that kind of stuff. So, yep.
And then, like I said, Carrington was not doing any drills. He had his helmet off and all that stuff.
So, I guess we'll use that Carrington note to kind of dovetail into some of the position battles that we're seeing. Obviously, Burton would have been part of one of them, but he's missed time subsequently. So, because he's been out, he probably would have gotten first nod at left guard with Banks missing time with injury. But Jacob Monk has been the first left guard in after with Banks out.
I forgot. With Orsic out before they sign whatever his name is, Sean Ryan was snapping.
Yeah, I think he was whatever feud when they did the walkthroughs. That's what it was, because they hadn't live drilled it. He was in the walkthrough. He was the long snapper. So so showing where the Packers would go in that regard. Okay, so talking about offensive line, so in place of Zach Tom and Aaron Banks, it has been Jacob Monk at left guard and Darren Kennard at right tackle to this point, which makes sense. You want Belton to stay at right guard for as many snaps as he can get in preseason. Obviously, Ryan is going to be the center with Burton out with injury, and Morgan has been playing left tackle. The good news there to this point is that, and we're going to keep saying it over and over, it's hard to know how much stock to put into this, but it's been nice that at least through the first week-ish of training camp that you haven't gotten any supreme doom and gloom updates regarding how Morgan and Belton have looked at their new / stamped starting positions along the offensive line. You haven't gotten the Jordan Morgan looks lost out there. In fact, you've got Tauscher Bulaga and Joe Thomas at different times coming in to kind of say Jordan looks good out there, you have to like what you're seeing out of him thus far in camp, and they've all put different disclaimers on top of it, but all kind of saying for what they've been allowed to do thus far, he looks fine at left tackle. And then same for Belton, where you're not getting the he doesn't look like he's gotten any better since last season, or he time in the offseason hasn't gotten him looking more comfortable and stuff. So, as we keep saying, Monday is going to be the first padded practice, but better to hear nothing than to hear anything super dour about either player and stuff. So that's one of the positions set of positions where you're getting some competition. The big one on the defensive side being corner, obviously. As Joe lightly pointed out, Keisean Nixon, did he just rest his hamstring? Did he hold in lightly? It was only a day, but Cisse got the start and had a couple nice plays on Wednesday's practice, and Nixon was back on Thursday, and it was kind of an interesting rotation because, all the talk on Wednesday was how good Cisse and St. Juste look, getting the bulk of the cornerback, the first team cornerback snaps. Obviously, Bullard is getting the slot snaps, but there was a lot of buzz with how good Cisse and St. Juste looked on Wednesday, and then Nixon returns, and then also Valentine. They were both the first guys getting most of the first team snaps on Thursday, and then on Friday, I believe Valentine and Nixon were again the first guys up, but they did rotate St. Juste and Cisse in a lot on Friday as well. So.
And I have a feeling that's what it's going to be no matter what until somebody establishes themselves as a... I'm sure they don't want to push the rookies out there too much. Don't want to overdo it with them, but, a heavy rotation.
You do need to get Cisse reps because you want him to be as ready as he can be as soon as he can be. And then
And I
same
would
for
say Jackson too, and I haven't seen anything on how Jackson's been doing, so I couldn't tell you on what he's been up to.
Yeah, I think Jackson's mostly been running with the second team unit, and I kind of put it in the what's it called, like kind of like the O-line territory, where it's like haven't seen him be the guy who's given up a lot of the big plays in camp. It's been a lot more of the like lower down the depth chart kind of guys, or the guys who are sort of like, I don't want to say playing out of position, but it's like, oh, it was a zone play where edge was supposed to carry someone up the seam or something like that, or those kind of situations, or like, oh, they ran a switch route, so they got the backup slot isolated on Golden or something like that, and also, it's, like I said, Jackson hasn't been one of the guys to make one of the highlight plays, but it's also in a weird way good that he's not just like, oh, Damani Jackson got burned again. You're not hearing the it's not looking good at corner for Jackson. Maybe he needs to move to safety kind of thing. So take mum the word for being a good thing right now. Needs to.
Well, yeah, they say that about offensive line and like corner. If you're not hearing anything, no news is always good news with those types of players, because that means they're doing their job properly. Now, would you like to see them be like the next Charles Woodson or something
absolutely.
like that right off the bat? Yeah, no kidding. But, otherwise, everything. I mean, even Javon Bullard has been looking pretty good. I saw that he's been working on his peanut punch. He knocked one out today with a peanut punch. So, hopefully the secondary, I still see them calling Nixon CB1, and it drives me batty, but hopefully St. Just I know we talked about this last time. I don't think with the years and money that they gave St. Just, which it wasn't a ton, but I don't see
it also isn't a minimum. Yeah, exactly.
Right. I don't see it being just a special teams thing. I think they're going off of whatever grading system they use. We know they claim that it's not PFF, but whatever grading system they use, he was high up in their grading system, that they think that they can have him. And I think they've been after him for a while. If I remember right, they kind of they were in on him during the draft. They just kind of missed out on him. So
yeah,
back when he was drafted, not this past draft.
Yeah.
But would I be surprised if by the end of the season it's a rotation, a duo of St. Just and Cisse? I wouldn't be shocked at all.
And there's a part of it where it kind of feels like they want it to get there, because we've kind of pointed it out before, where Valentine and Nixon aren't the biggest guys at corner, and part of their issues is like, part of Valentine's tackling issues is like he's a smaller, slighter guy, and Nixon's, some of his problems is like he's a sawed-off corner kind of guy, body type,
and he's not
also
the fastest on the field either.
No. Yeah, so whereas like St. Just and Cisse, they're not exactly, they're not elite athletes, but they're bigger, and they are better athletes than better than Nixon, at least. I know Valentine did test really well in terms of RAS, but you can see where
the knock has always been is he won't tackle.
Yeah, so you can kind of see where, as you said, Joe, if both of them pick up enough of the defense fast enough, and that's where it kind of helps them that this is a new system. They're not walking into a room where, if Hafley was still around, it's like, okay, you can say that Nixon and Valentine might be more entrenched as starters because it's they're holdover players from the same system and stuff. That's okay. But what's it called? It's sort of a clean slate for everyone involved, so everyone has a relatively fresh shot. Obviously the three guys who have been in the NFL for several years are going to have a leg up on Cisse, but if Cisse shows well, they're not gonna hold the touted talented rookie back for the sake of this guy's more veteran kind of thing. So
I said it last time. If Cisse comes out and in the 3 preseason games he plays has 5 pass breakups and 3 interceptions, there's no way that they can say nope, you're not starting.
Yep.
Because that already eclipsed the corner room production the last 3 years.
Yep. So we shall see on that. And then up front on the defensive line is where there's been a lot of bodies moving, mainly because of the injuries to the top players at each position. So as we noted earlier, Parsons and Wyatt have not been participating in team drills for obvious, Wyatt's not ready yet, and Parsons is obviously on PUP, so he cannot practice, on PUP, so he can't practice. So at end, Lucas has been end 1. Sorrell has typically been starting opposite him, but Brenton Cox has been rotating in a lot with Sorrell. And it does seem like they're going to try and rotate a lot at defensive end. That Gannon is part of that mentality where it's like keeping bodies fresh is as important as what you do in terms of scheme and how good your top guys are. You need fresh legs to chase the ball and late in the game and all that kind of stuff. And, it's going to work well in a couple ways because it's like you're not putting 80% of the snaps on a Micah Parsons to be like, we need you every play to save us, big guy. And also, with Parsons coming back from his own ACL repair, it's good that, just not even in terms of, just his rehab process, but the scheme has it baked in that they're going to try and, limit guys' snaps and stuff. So, good to see that. One of the notes that Andy Herman did raise is okay, the O-line has looked good at times, but also how much of that is the O-line is playing well and how much of that is the quote-unquote organic pass rushers on this team without Micah Parsons are not good enough yet. So
well, that's what I was talking about earlier with
the
Colin Oliver thing. Like I said, Wes Hod said that this has to be the first time I've ever seen a pass rusher stop and put his hands on his hips waiting for the ball to be completed. In game that would have been an automatic blow up of the quarterback. But, is that because he's good? Is that because he's going, does that mean the offensive line is bad? Are they going against 2 opposite, whatever it is? But that's why when you get excited about things going through practice, you've got to put that in your mind. Well, shit, does that mean, if the defense is doing really good, does that mean the offense sucks? Or if the offense is doing really good, does that mean the defense sucks? So that's why I said you got to have tempered expectations for practices.
Yep. So that, we'll start to see that, especially once we get into the cross-team practices where what's that going to be, week 2 of the preseason, where they're going to have the inter-squad practices with the Cardinals. It's going to be a LaFleur family affair between the Packers and Cardinals.
That's got to be week 3 because that's when they...
Oh, okay, got it.
Because it's they have 2 away games and then...
You're right, it is week 3.
1 home game.
It's throwing me off because of the whole... The preseason game they cut would have been the week 4 game. They didn't cut the old week 1 and play weeks 2 through 4. They're playing weeks 1 through 3, and then week 4 is totally a bye in the preseason. So yeah, that's what keeps throwing me off with the new format.
Yeah, see, because I was trying to real quick change my plans because I'll be up there the 12th through the 21st. So the game that they'll play on the 13th is away. And then the game they play on the 21st is away. So they'll have 2 travel days while I'm there. So but I couldn't manage it. I was going to try working it to the last week, but it is what it is. But yeah, even without that, just having that first preseason game, you'll see, you can start getting excited for it because you'll start seeing, because that's usually when the players are all amped up, is that first game of contact. They're all amped up. They're ready to go. There's going to be mistakes, no doubt about it, but you're going to see a lot of hitting. You're going to see a lot of flying around.
Yep. So here we go. Like, we're going to find out pretty fast. And one of the interesting notes is that Dennis Sutton has been getting most of his reps on the interior. I think it's like he's only got a handful of snaps in team drills on at edge. Most of his work has been as like a 3 technique, and by all accounts he's been acquitting himself pretty well at that spot. So kind of interesting to hear there. But the Packers do kind of like define and design roles for each of the rookies, and then depending on how quickly they pick things up, they'll expand those roles as the season goes along. But I do wonder how much of that is a function of, because Parsons is out, they can't necessarily use Lucas on the interior as much. So it's like, maybe we'll see if a rookie can do it and you leave Lucas on the edge. And so, just to give yourself more. And also, how much versatility they lost when Lucas got injured last year, because he was the guy that was going to primarily be the reduced inside defensive end. Because when he hurt his foot, that kind of left the playbook for a while. And they got a lot more stagnant in terms of being like 2 ends and a pair of tackles in their pass rush front, their NASCAR front and stuff. So, like you said, it's hard to say anything, but when you let the mind wander with what do these limited preseason snippets of information you get from these practices, what do they mean? You try to do the Charlie Day What's Always Sunny in Philadelphia map on the wall kind of thing. These are the sort of theories and fan theories that you come up with, but that's on the edge. And then at defensive tackle, they in fact have been running 3-4 looks out of their base, so you've got to see a lot of 3 defensive tackle groupings out there. McClellan has been getting a lot of first team reps. I think Wednesday and Friday he was the de facto quote unquote starter if they were in a 3-man line. But you also saw Anthony, the vet D tackle out of Miami, get some starting snaps at nose. And then Brinson has been playing one of the 5-tech spots. Brooks has been playing the other one. And
you mean
it's been,
Ford?
Ford also got to start.
Ford?
Yeah, Jonathan Ford got to start. But no, hold on. What is it? No, the other Miami guy. I know Ford is, but fudge.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who the fuck you're talking about.
Anthony Campbell. Sorry, not last name Anthony, first name Anthony.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well, you said like veteran, and he's only had 1 year in the league, so I was like,
yeah.
Wait a minute, are you talking about Ford?
But no. So, and from all accounts, Ford has been playing better than Nazir Stackhouse, which is kind of expected because he's been around the block a couple times. This is
well, they said that Nazir looked better today, but they also say he's looking bigger. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Right. That's kind of like a like which way are we bringing that up for? So we'll see. We'll see as time goes along with these guys. But it is good to see that McClellan is getting his feet wet right off the bat. That they're giving him reps with the first team on defense. But things are obviously going to change once Wyatt is able to return and Hargrave eventually makes his way back onto the field. But in the medium, it is good to see your your day 2 pick from this draft get time with the first team defense.
They're all day 2 picks. We didn't have a first day pick.
That is very true.
But yeah, it's. I mean, again, it's hard to tell what is what with a lot of these practices, just because it's installation. They're not going 100 mile an hour, that kind of thing. So we are hearing some good things out of certain ones. I think they even said Brinson has been kind of, not like overpowering, but has been looking good. So we all knew when Micah went down that it's not going to be the same defense. It's how well the defense is going to hold up until Micah gets back. Van Ness they've been talking about how he's been looking lights out. Baron Sorrell has been looking good. Again, Oliver's been looking good. It'll be for those guys to hold it down and provide a solid boost until Micah gets back on the field. And then what you're hoping for is your defense when Micah's gone is here. You don't want it down here because this is the floor. This is about mid-level. Then when Micah gets here, you want it up. It should take it to here. So, it'll basically take it to the next step. You want it defense without Micah, one step. The next step is with Micah. Did I lose you?
Yep. Nope, Mike just forgot to unmute. So that's where we are so far in terms of quote unquote positional battles. Not necessarily the hottest ones. Corner is probably the hottest one in terms of like guys who have a legitimate chance to like really take a starting spot. But it is just good to see like guys are making plays when given the opportunity. The other good news that the Packers have gotten is it has been 4 days of practice and Marshawn Lloyd has not dropped out of any of them with injury. So, he's gonna be the butt of all the jokes in this whole season, really until his career in Green Bay is done or until the status quo changes. But honestly, for Marshawn, I'm really happy for him, and I hope that his newfound bill on health continues to go as the team moves forward. But so far, so good for Marshawn Lloyd, and they've already said like you've seen a couple of those like, yeah, that's why they're not gonna quit on him kind of moments in some of these practices. So keep doing well,
Marshawn.
Wouldn't
stop me from bringing somebody else in.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. But
but it's great seeing that. Like I said earlier, the wide receivers seem to be doing tremendous. Golden seems to be. I saw one today where he high pointed the ball, so he really showed that his ups are there. Sturdivant has even shined a bit.
Nair still seems to be a darling of this coaching staff.
I think the only one that's had a rough outing so far has been Sky Moore. So, because I think he's the one that had the ball knocked out of his hands by
I think it was.
Bullard.
But I think that's been his lone like negative play so far in camp. Like, and they haven't really done live return teams and stuff. And that's his ticket to making the roster. It like obviously it would be great that he contributes as not just the return man, but his whole ticket to being on this roster is don't muff punts and hold on and break a return every now and then kind of thing. Like that's literally how he's going to make this roster. That's his ticket to punch, and it's all on his shoulders in that regard. So, but otherwise, I know there's like names we can just keep throwing back and forth, but you want to just start moving into our most encouraging and least encouraging things that we've picked up in these first few days of training camp?
I think we've basically covered that stuff.
Yeah.
These episodes aren't going to be the most exhilarating breakdowns of things because there's not much to break down at the moment. But, I think we've covered all that.
I got one more. I got
Okay.
one more that's a little bit more in the weeds, but one of the encouraging ones that I've got is like Gannon seems to be turning up the experiment meter dial with each day because they did say that Wednesday's practice it was not vanilla, but it was a little bit more straightforward. And then Thursday, he basically spent the whole practice in a double A gap mug look, and kind of was like doing a lot of different things out of that look. And then Friday, he was kind of like doing bait coverages, those kind of like bait and switch kind of coverages and stuff. Not sure about Sunday's practice, but it is nice to see that, he's coming in off the bat and just saying like, Jordan meet kitchen sink kind of thing. And, I understand in the preseason games themselves, you're not going to necessarily put a lot of that on film, but I think it works both ways well for both your team, your defense to rep in practice, what you're going to be doing throughout the season. And then it's good for your offense to be like, okay, we're not just going to see a vanilla standard coverage with a straight 4-man rush kind of thing. It's just everyone's prepping on a little, doing the mental rep side of things. So obviously the next hurdle for Gannon is keep doing all that crazy shit once Parsons is back. That was the thing, is it's like Halfley kind of backed off of that after a while. He kind of was like, oh, like, we have the cheat code, why do I need to do much? That's not to say Halfley wasn't doing things, but it did seem that more times often than not, he's kind of like, instead of potentially shooting ourselves in the foot because we try something super funky, let's just let one of the best defensive players in the league go and be one of the best defensive players and play off of him. And then around like Halloween, it was kind of like, okay, maybe we'll start to mix a few other things in because Rashawn started to fall off at that point. Wyatt and Lucas were injured and stuff. And, it's the like, okay, like, there is a balance to find, but like, don't turn the faucet all the way off either kind of thing. Like, and just because Micah comes back, he's not going to be Micah effing Parsons right off the bat, too. So it's like, yeah, like...
And I think that kind of helps the offense, too, because it gives them not just vanilla looks.
Yes.
It means they have to actually game plan things in practices.
Yeah. Your guys all have to do the thinking part of the game and not just, it's just going to be a straight defense. I can just run my slant route here kind of thing. It's like, oh, that guy is moving and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the negatives that I could say is kind of what I feared is Tyrod Taylor's only been like 50-50.
Oh, yeah.
You're seeing like really, sometimes you see like not great things and sometimes you're seeing good things.
He make two like nice touch passes and then you're like, uh-oh, every pick six is off a Tyrod Taylor throw kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
Uh-oh.
So it's like, I understand they wanted the veteran presence there. They wanted, a veteran backup, but...
As we noted on the previous episode, if either McCord or Drone shows the ability to pick this playbook up... Well, and obviously McCord has been there a whole year, basically, but if either of them shows the gumption to, like, be the first guy off the bench and stuff, we're in agreement that, like, Tyrod Taylor's tenure in the NFL means nothing. Like, if... either of those two younger guys shows better than him in the preseason.
Or if somebody better shows up after cuts.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So.
Or they get a deal that blows them away like the Malik Willis situation.
Yeah.
So, no, I think that really covers most anything. We did get a question from our buddy Goose. He wants to know who's a better prospect, DDS or Trey Smack. And I get what he's asking.
Yeah, it's a
good question. But it's hard to answer because it's two completely different spectrums you're putting it on. Because I've been thinking about it since he asked it, that Trey Smack has a higher hill to climb. Because we're going to live or die by the results on what he does. DDS is
he's a luxury pick.
Right.
I know it. For this year's team, he is a luxury pick. Yes, he could be a starter in a couple years kind of thing. Like, you hope he at least pans out like Inagbare did over the course of his rookie deal, being similar round picks and stuff. But you're absolutely right that it's like, they have, he wasn't the guy either of us wanted necessarily, but the team signaled on multiple fronts that, like, Smack is the guy that they're hitching their wagon to. And
right now he's the only kicker on roster.
Yep. So,
unless
several...
they put Dan Whelan as both punter and kicker.
I mean, the only problem is Dan Whelan can't catch the snap and hold it for himself. I think that's literally the one reason he isn't.
But I argue that you could do what they used to do before they decided to put punters as the holders. That's what the backup quarterback was for.
Yep.
But just to go back to the question... I would have to lean DDS just because he has a much easier time in the system right now.
Yeah.
He's not being relied upon as a starter. He's not. I mean, like you said, obviously you want to see him do good things and have a productive rookie contract, but Smack is getting thrown to the wolves per se, and he's just got a bigger hill to climb.
Yeah, and just to be contrarian with you, the weird angle I would argue Smack is that, yes, I know DDS went like around earlier, all that kind of stuff. Pass rushers are like a premier position. You can never have enough of them, all that kind of stuff. But the the super other planet angle that I would argue that Smack is the better prospect is that between the two, there's a way that he can be the best player at his position in the NFL more directly than DDS can. Now, between the two, I'd argue that it's more likely DDS gets towards that summit than Smack does, just because, like you said, just inherently there's only 32 of them jobs in the NFL, and teams, like you said, everyone wants to marginalize how, like, everyone scoffs at the whole special teams is a third of the game until it's their special teams that's costing their team game wins. And so, like, that, there's no way to simulate that pressure. You can simulate rushes, rushers coming off the edge of your field goal protection unit. You can simulate crowd noise. You can do things to mimic weather. You can spray water to make it like it's raining. You can put big fans in to make it windy, all that kind of crap. It's going to snow because it's Green Bay.
I'd freeze the football.
Oh, yeah.
I'd
dunk it in the water and all that kind of shit. But you cannot, there's no way to simulate the whole, if you miss this kick, you're cut. Like, there is no way to simulate that kind of pressure. And, like, I don't think Goot and the front office or coaches are stupid. I'm sure they're, like, talking Trey up when they, like, when they're coaching him up, or, like, when Gutekunst called him to say, we're drafting you. It's like, hey, we really believe it. It's not the, hey, we believe in you, but if you fuck this up, we're getting someone else in a month kind of thing. Like, all they've done is, they've cut the two guys who were on the roster when they drafted Trey. So, like, they've just given signs that it's like, we're rolling with you, we're rolling with you. But if all things work out, DDS is never going to play for the Packers without Micah Parsons being ahead of him on the call sheet. And so, like, just in, like, that, like I said, super oddball angle of looking on it, that's how I would argue that Smack is the better prospect of the two, is that his ability to be the best out of 32 guys at his job is more direct than, and like, he is the Groza winner and all that kind of stuff. Like, he was the best, voted the best at his position, out of all the college players and stuff like that.
It was rigged.
Yeah. SEC bias still matters somewhere, but whereas DDS, there's always multiple pass rushers and there's a whole bunch of them on every roster kind of thing and stuff. So, like I said, super out of the box thinking, but that's how I would argue that Smack could be the better prospect of the two.
Right, and like I said, it's just a hard one to do because of the two completely opposite positions.
Forget apples and oranges. This is apples and beef stew.
Yeah, and so athletically wise, I would still probably put DDS in there just because, kickers aren't athletes per se.
He had that one guy, Bueller or whatever his name was, that was the 10 RAS kicker, and even that is like for a kicker kind of comparison.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, you just look at who was the highest drafted kicker in our lifetime, Janikowski. Well, look at him. He definitely was not a friggin' athlete.
He looked like a dad in the parking lot of a game. And that was his whole career. That wasn't even at the end of his career kind of thing.
So, and that's not taking anything away from him. They,
No.
They're hell of, yeah. I would still, even if you look at just pure athlete, I would still have to put DDS in there. But
Yeah.
It's hard to compare the two just because of the hills that they have to climb. It's
Yep.
like, DDS has taken the low road and Trace Mac has taken the high road, and which one gets to Dublin before them? you know? But yeah, that's about all I got.
I think so too. Like you said, like until we have a game or even family night, it's really hard to make a lot of conclusions off of because at some level it is just practice. Like and we as we keep going back to, we haven't even had a padded practice at the time we're recording this episode. So it's like I said, all the you've had 3 guys who played at all pro, I would argue all pro levels in this league, in Tauscher, Bulaga, and Joe Thomas, who have all had glowing reviews on what they said out of Jordan Morgan, but they've all put the massive disclaimer on, yeah, he's not in pads yet, he's still in shorts, and, not even in shells at the point at some of them were, talking about what they've seen from him in practice, so...
And they had Joe Philbin in there today.
Who, he has a offensive line background, so yeah, we'll see. But yeah, instead of us just circling the wagons any longer on this one, Joe, I think we can tie a bow on this episode and move along with the rest of our Sundays.
Pretty much, the only thing I got to say is you'll be getting 2 episodes this week, because we did get the finals of the Star Wars trivia contest. We have decided who gains the rank of master and who didn't. I haven't decided how... this one will probably still drop Monday, but I haven't decided when I'll drop the other one, whether it's going to be midweek or towards the end of the week. But, again, I said this last time, thank you for everybody who tuned in, who listened to it. I already have ideas on how I want to do it next year. But if you got any suggestions or anything, be more than happy to hear them. But thank you for everybody tuning in for that. But we are going to be Packers going forward, so if you were here just for the Star Wars and the interviews, you'll have to wait till next year. If you're here for the Packers, then strap in and be ready for some not so hard-hitting content.
Sounds good. But as always, as we always say, please follow us on your social medias at Ohana_Packers on Twitter, at Ohana Packers Edition on Instagram, Ohana Packers Edition on Facebook. Please follow us there if you're not already. We're trying to hit those 100 subscribers so that we can do our drawing and live stream to that channel whenever we do live stream. Please follow the podcast on your favorite podcasting apps. Please give us a like and a subscribe. We're always looking for new followers. And as Goose did today, please send in your questions, comments, thoughts. We'll always address them on the show. We can jokingly say we always do when we only get 1 or 2 of them each week. But even if we were to get 100, we would do our best to, whether we consolidate them down to similar ones or things like that or whatever, we will find the time to answer all your guys' thoughts and comments. So please send them in. Joe and I will never be too prideful to do all of that. But until next time, that's Iowa Joe. I'm Mike. Go Pack Go, and aloha.
Packers fans out here to stay. Cheeseheads green and gold all day. Jordan Love lead us to the bay. Every game we find a way. Green Bay hustle, grind it up. Hit the field, we don't bluff. Touchdown dances, feel the love. Jordan's got that MVP stuff. It's time for OPE, let's go. Packers bringing that show. It's time for OPE, green and gold gonna glow. Lambeau Field, our sacred ground. Feel the vibe, hear the sound. Packers fans so loud and proud. Jordan Love, he's wearing the crown. Lambeau Field, our sacred ground. Feel the vibe, hear the sound. Packers fans so loud and proud. Jordan Love, he's wearing the crown.